point out that this condition of imminence is described as follows. It says the condition that an operational leader of a group presenting a threat to the United States, the condition that an operational leader present an imminent threat of violent attack against the United States does not require the United States to have clear evidence that a specific attack on U.S. persons and interests will take place in the immediate future. Now, Senator Paul, wouldn't it be your understanding that if something is imminent, that it would need to be something occurring immediately?
Well, yeah, and I think there's really no question about using lethal force against an imminent attack. And I think that's why we need to make the question that we're asking the President very clear. And the question is, if planes are attacking the World Trade Center, we do believe in an imminent response. We do believe in an imminent defense for that. The problem is that if we're talking about non-combatants who might someday be involved, if they're in America, I see no reason why they shouldn't be arrested.
And so if we're dealing with something that is imminent, we are talking about something that's about to occur, that it's urgent. And that typically is the standard. Anytime government officials in other contexts, law enforcement, for example, sometimes, regrettably and tragically, law enforcement officers have to make a spur-of-the-moment judgment call in order to protect human life. And sometimes in doing that, they have to do something that they wouldn't ordinarily do. This always turns on some kind of an imminent standard. It always turns on some kind of an emergent threat, something that is about to occur, that is occurring at the moment. And yet we're told in black and white, right here in this white paper, that this condition, that of imminence, does not require the United States to have clear evidence that a specific attack on U.S. persons and interests will take place in the immediate future. That begs the question, what then is the standard? Who then makes this determination? Presumably it's the President of the United States. Perhaps it's others reporting up in the chain of command to the President of the United States. But if actual imminence isn't required as part of this ostensibly imminence standard, what then is the standard? Is there any at all? And if there is a standard, is it so wide, is it so broad that you could drive a 747 right through it? And if that's the case, how is that compatible with time-honored notions of due process? Those notions deeply embedded in our founding documents, those notions that we understand come from God and cannot be revoked by any government. I wish I could say that the imminence standard problem in the Department of Justice white paper is the only problem. It's not. We look to the very next page, the page dealing with the feasibility of capture. One of the other standards outlined in the Department of Justice white paper, outlining the circumstances in which the government of the United States may take a human life using a drone in a case involving a United States citizen, is that the capture has to be infeasible, and the United States has to be continuing to monitor whether capture becomes feasible at some point. As to this standard, on page 8 of the Department of Justice white paper, it says that as to the feasibility of capture, capture would not be feasible if it could not be physically effectuated during the relevant window of opportunity, or if the relevant country were to decline to consent to a capture operation. Other factors, such as undue risk to U.S. personnel conducting a potential capture operation, also could be relevant. Feasibility would be a highly fact-specific and potentially time-sensitive inquiry. In other words, they're saying that it has to be something that could not be physically effectuated during the relevant window. But what's the relevant window? The white paper makes absolutely no effort whatsoever to define what the relevant window is. Who then makes this determination? And according to what factors is that determination made? Here, yet again, we have a standardless standard. We have a standard that is so broad, that is so malleable, that is so easily subject to so many varying interpretations. No one can reasonably look into this and decide who the government may kill with a drone and who the government may not kill with a drone. That's a problem. And that, it seems to me, Senator Paul, is fundamentally incompatible with time-honored notions of due process. Would you not agree with that assessment?
Absolutely, and I think that's where the crux comes down to this, is, talking about having an imminent standard. And this is part of the problem in the sense that he doesn't want to talk about it. And if we're going to do something so dramatic as to no longer have the Fifth Amendment apply in the United States, to have no accusation, to have no arrest, no jury trials for folks that are to be killed in the United States, it's such a dramatic change that you would think we would want to have a full airing of a debate over this.
Would the senator from Kentucky yield for a question?
I can't yield the floor, but I will allow you to make comments.
If you'll yield for a question, I'll just ask whether you were aware of the exchange that some members of the Senate Judiciary Committee had with Attorney General Holder this morning on this subject.
Yes.
And were you aware of the fact that some of us asked Attorney General Holder for a more robust analysis, that provided in a series of memoranda authored by the Office of Legal Counsel, the U.S. Department of Justice's chief advisory body, and the fact that so far the Department of Justice has declined to make those available to members of the Judiciary Committee?
Yes, I'm aware of that. In fact, I think we have the transcript of some of the conversation from this morning.
If I can supplement that question just by describing what I encountered in connection with that. I expressed frustration to the Attorney General over the fact that members of the Senate Judiciary Committee who have significant oversight responsibilities with regard to the operation of the U.S. Department of Justice have not had access to that memorandum. And that this is part of our oversight responsibilities. This is something we ought to be able to see. It is so far not something we've been able to see. I encourage the Attorney General to make available to members of the Senate Judiciary Committee those very documents, which he claimed add some additional insight and give us some additional analysis above and beyond what this white paper is saying. So I thought that might be relevant to you in addressing my question.
Absolutely.